Hello, welcome back to Realityworks. We're not at Realityworks, we're at my home right now, and this is the second installment of this vlog about our hydroponics units. And it's really an update about how the progress is going and the competition between Em and I. If this is the first vlog that you saw from us, and I will show you some video and pictures along the way of Em's progress too in this footage. You can also check us out on social media at our Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, I believe. And you can go to our website, realityworks.com, to access our blog and webinars. And you can also access our implementation page. And that gives great information about implementing these programs, the hydroponics programs into your classroom. If you're a teacher and you want to bring these things into your classroom, it gives good tips and tricks on how to get set up and samples of curriculum and stuff like that. So to do a little update on the progress, obviously if you saw the first vlog, you can probably tell that things have been growing pretty great. And I made a comment to Em, my coworker, about how I thought I was maybe winning the competition, and she immediately sent me a picture from her phone that showed the growth that she's had in the lab unit at work. And she's growing some lettuces and leafy vegetables, and she's having great success.
Hey Ellen, so this is my quick update on the lab unit. Everything is growing huge. Down here, we are germinating still. We can plant them next week. I did also, in this bottom tray, add Rapid Start because these plants are going in a little bit later. I just want to see, it was a free product, wanted to try it. It came with all of our nutrients, so going to see if that does anything to the plants. Down here, I'll be growing a little bit of everything. So right now I just have kale and lettuce, and down here I'll have a variety of different herbs, and then I'll also have lettuce and kale, maybe spinach. I'm still holding out hope that it'll grow. But yeah, that's my update.
I'm obviously working out of home with the mini unit, the mini hydroponics educational system, and she's working with the plant lab unit out of the office, Realityworks home base office. So I did have some failures with a few of my seeds that were starting. They didn't quite have enough root growth, and I lost a couple of them. And I was complaining to Em, and what she ended up doing is she did some additional seeds starting, and she gave me some lettuce and what did she give me? Lettuce and spinach. So 2 and 2. So I'm going to try those in the mini and see if I have as good of success with my growing as she is with in the lab unit. So some of the cool features about this thing: it has a fan. The fan circulates air and helps these plants grow and have strong roots and strong stems. The other thing that it has a water pump that circulates the nutrients and the water from the lower tank up into the ebb and flow tank. And if I lift this up, see all the root growth in there? That's a good thing. And that black part, that black tank, is actually the ebb and flow tank that sits above. It sits above the water reservoir. So I just actually put these the dill that I'm growing has grown real tall, and one of the plants was kind of laying over, so I put these paper clips, I bent it up and I'm giving it a little extra support. Hopefully that's helping the grow process. But anyway, little side note there. And then light setting. So you can set this thing, there's a power button on the top here. And then there's different grows. You can manually put on the pump and the fan. And then you have different settings for vegetables. Hopefully you can see that okay. Vegetables or flowers and fruits. You click that on, and then this is the light's on a timer and the fans are on a timer. So it'll circulate the water for a set amount of time, and the fans will run, and then the lights will be on. I'm going to just shut this off. as far as the settings on this thing does have a height adjustment for the lights and the fans. So as your plants grow, you can adjust the height setting. You can raise it up. And that allows for the full grow height. The other thing that I wanted to talk about is some of the things that we're doing along the way. Twice a week, I have been checking the pH levels and the EC levels. The EC is the electrical conductivity. So we're checking both of those, and there are some basic guidelines that you should follow as far as the range of pH and EC. To do this, we purchased these testers. This is the pH tester, and all you do is turn it on and you put it in the water, and right now I'm sitting at 5.9 for pH, which is just a little bit low. 5.9, and what I want it to be is I want it to be up over 6. You know, between 6 and 7 is the range that we want for the plants. So what I will do to adjust the pH level is if your pH level is high, you want to add nutrients and that'll bring it down. If your pH levels are low, you want to add water, and that should bring the pH level up. Turn this off. The other test that we do is the EC. It's the same kind of a thing. You turn it on, and this one sometimes takes a while for it to get to its full reading. Somewhere between 800 and 1200 was my kind of goal. Yeah, and it's topping out at about 960. Yeah, that's where it's at. So I'm not too far off on my levels. So I'm happy about that, because when I started, one of the one of the things that I was nervous about were my pH was really low. And I think what happened was I read my quick start guide wrong, and I did the opposite. So the pH was a little bit low, and I thought to raise it up, I needed to add more nutrients. Well, that ended up being the wrong thing to do, and my pH just kept getting lower and lower, and now I've been fighting getting the pH back up ever since. And what I did was I cut the water in half. I took half the water out, and I put in fresh water that had been distilling, just sitting in a pitcher. And I put in and filled the tank back up. The pH rose to not quite where I wanted it, so I cut the water again, and it seems like I'm getting the pH levels to where they need to be. And the EC level at that point was high, so as I was raising the pH, the EC was coming down into that happy medium range. The other thing that I've been doing about the pH levels and the EC levels, twice a week I'm recording in this journal. So I have a record of the different levels that I've recorded along the way. So I have record of that progress of raising the pH and bringing the EC down. So it's kind of fun to look back at that and say, okay, well, my plants weren't necessarily growing at the rate that I wanted them to at first. So I can look back and go, well, this is why. Maybe that was causing some issues. The other issue that I have found that I'm a little nervous about, and I think I took care of it, was I was getting some white on the dill. I was getting some powdery, almost like a mildew, and it seems to be going away now. So what I did to combat this, and I did some research online and I read into our curriculum a little bit, but it sounds to me like the cause of that is over watering, and maybe the sponges, the rock wool was a little bit too wet all the time. So what I did was I went in And I raised up the rock wool a little bit higher so it wasn't sitting down in the water in the ebb and flow tray. And that seems to be doing the trick. Now the roots are really growing and I'm seeing better growth, and I'm not seeing any of that powdery mildew. So that was a win. I think I'm doing things correctly in as far as this is, taking those steps to improve things. So we'll see if I keep, everything keeps growing okay. The rosemary's a little bit behind. The oregano and dill is growing like crazy. I think what was my failure? My failure was basil. I don't think any of these, I think this is all oregano. I'm not sure why I had some failures with the basil. It just didn't seem to want to kick off, but we'll see if she did reseed some of that, and we'll see if it grows better in the lab unit at work. So I think it's been a really fun experience. I'm kind of a hands-off grower in our garden, our hobby homestead up north, and actually plants around the house. I usually am hands-off and I don't obsess over things very much. This seems to be one of those situations because of the competition. I get a little nervous about the growth and what's happening with the plants just because I want to succeed so much. And checking the levels twice a week sometimes isn't enough. I'll check them in between there just to make sure I'm getting the right, getting things to where they need to be. So make sure you check us out on social media and at realityworks.com. I'll give you another update in a few weeks here. Thanks for watching. See you next time.